He seems to be the hot name right now around the Indiana fan base. Could Chris Beard be on the way to Bloomington?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Thank you so much for being here, truly making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. We have more football news in terms of recruits and guys that are going to be here visiting in June. That's right, Curt Cignetti and the guys continue to get names on campus. We'll talk about another one from Georgia that'll be here in June in just a little bit. Plus the latest bracketology. I told you with a win over Purdue, I thought we'd be back in the mix. And according to this one bracketology, we are back in the game. But to start off today's show, is Chris Beard the top pick for Indiana? Will the Hoosiers take a chance and go after Chris Beard as their next head coach? And I bring Chris Beard back into the fold and want to remind people, and my everydayers know this is not the first time that I've talked about Chris Beard. I just didn't mention him in the episode yesterday. And there were a lot of Indiana fans who mentioned him in the YouTube comments, and I love to see the engagement, so keep that up. I really do enjoy reading through those. But I didn't mention him yesterday because I just don't know where he stands on this Indiana coaching list. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is my opinion. This is not anything confirmed. I don't think he's the top choice right now. I don't think he is at the top of that list. Is he on the list? Yeah, I think so. And it would be dumb for him not to be on that list. Listen to some of these numbers about Chris Beard in his time of coaching. In just 10 years of coaching college basketball, right? With Little Rock, Texas Tech, Texas, and now, of course, with Ole Miss, who is going to make the NCAA tournament, by the way. He has a 69% winning percentage. Pretty nice right there with 210 wins, just 93 losses, has been to the tournament 6 out of his 10 times, going to be 7 this year, and made a Final Four. He made Little Rock good. He made Texas Tech good. And Texas was getting there before the whole scandal thing happened, right? And that is why, from the things I'm being told and just the way that I feel and seeing how Indiana has acted and been burned before, I just feel IU may be a little bit more hesitant on Chris Beard. Remember, back in 2022, in December, it was December 12th of 2022, Chris Beard was arrested on third-degree felony charge of assault against a family member for strangulation. The police report came out. It was his fiance at the time. She came out and said he did this and did all these crazy things. Well, then it starts to come out that she didn't want to testify. She didn't want to say anything about it. She didn't want to press charges. All right. Texas fires him on January 5th of 2023. Less than 2 months later, the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, hires him on March 13th. So he was arrested on December 12th of 2022. He was fired on January 5th of 2023. And 2 months later, he was hired as the head coach of Ole Miss. It's worked out for them. Okay, it's worked out because he's a really, really good coach. He's got Ole Miss about to make the tournament for the first time since like 2017, 2018, and he's a really good coach. And look, let's be real. Do you really want to coach in Oxford, Mississippi for the rest of your life? At Ole Miss, a place that is clearly a football school, a place that is clearly putting its money and its NIL and its facility upgrades and its focus on the football program rather than on the basketball program. Do you really want to be there forever? I don't think so, which is why Chris Beard would jump immediately at the Indiana job if we came calling. I just think there is some hesitancy. Now, again, she came out. She walked back some of her statement. She didn't press charges. Nothing happened. He avoided. He got cleared is what I'm saying here. And you can read into this. The situation's on the internet. You can read into this and look into it for yourself. He is a clear man. That's why he's still coaching college basketball. I'm just saying, I think there may be some hesitancy here. But in terms of him just being a coach, if you take that stuff out of consideration and you look at him as a pure basketball coach, it would almost be a no brainer. It would almost be a no brainer because of how good he is and how good he's been at mediocre programs. Again, Little Rock, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, those are not basketball schools, people. Those are not places historically that have won big time basketball games. And this guy's been to the Final Four. You can't make that up. You cannot make that up that he's been to the Final Four. So he would bring the life, he would bring the energy, he would bring the passion back to Indiana. And he is one of those outliers, right? I saw a lot of people talking about this yesterday. He would be one of those outliers that doesn't have just all these crazy, weird, wild connections to Indiana, right? Sure, there are some, I guess, but there's nothing crazy. He didn't grow up in Bloomington, is what I'm saying. And so it would be one of those situations where Indiana goes and gets somebody that's really good, doesn't just have to have all these names and connections to IU. And as a coach, he's just makes sense if the Hoosiers can look past the things in the past. And if you want to be good, I feel like you kind of have to. Ole Miss did it, right? Ole Miss did it and it worked out. And guess what? Texas is kicking themselves right now for firing Chris Beard and not sticking by their coach, which I thought was crazy at the time. They are kicking themselves right now because they're about to miss the NCAA tournament if they don't pick it up here down the stretch. Texas is. Ole Miss is going to make the tournament, and it's all because of Chris Beard. So, is Beard the top pick for IU? I don't think so, but I do think he's on that list, and I think he's on the short call list. And that's what we talked about yesterday. How many people say no before Indiana gets their guy? And there could be nobody in front of Chris Beard. There could be 8 guys in front of Chris Beard. We don't really know, but I just don't think he's at the top right now. But I'm telling you, if it gets down to it, Indiana will make the call. And to most of the fan base, not all by any means, but to most of the fan base that I have seen or heard from around Indiana, Chris Beard's at the top of their lists. The fans want Chris Beard, and he very well could become the next head coach of the Indiana men's basketball program. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll take a look at the latest bracketology with the big-time win over Purdue on Sunday. The Hoosiers were dancing once again. We'll tell you about it coming up next right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. I love how I can make my picks in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. And with Taco Tuesday, that's today, Prize Picks even offers weekly promos like a Taco Tuesday, where you can get discounted player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, time to run your game. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers, your daily spot for all things Indiana athletics. Thank you so much for being here and making that so. If you are listening on audio, right, you know the drill at this point, right? Be sure you're following us over there. Have those notifications turned on. I don't want you to miss anything that we post on this Locked On Hoosiers podcast. And so have that done for me. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps us out big time. So thank you so much for that. And for those of you who are watching on the YouTube side, where the numbers are going stupid crazy right now, like this video. That helps more people find it. More basketball fans, more Indiana fans, other people out there. You hitting that thumbs up button is a big help to us. Plus, leaving your YouTube comments or your thoughts in the YouTube comments. I said I like it, and I do. Please help us do that and leave your thoughts down below. Chris Beard, yes or no, and why? That's it. Yes or no, and why, down in the YouTube comments. And then if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Making a push to 4,800 subscribers, okay? I think we can get there in the next several days, so thank you so much for that as well. Well, as of this recording, Joe Lunardi has not updated his bracketology, and I thought it came out on Tuesday mornings. I was checking late last night, early this morning, but it's not out yet. But Jerry Palm, who CBS Sports has released his latest bracketology, and look, they're very similar. I say it all the time. You can use whichever one you want to. It doesn't really matter to me. But we'll use the one that's updated. And the one that's updated is on CBS Sports, and it's got your Indiana Hoosiers back in the dance. And you use a win over Michigan State to kind of get back on the bubble, right? We were off. We were completely off the bubble. Nobody wanted us. Nobody thought about us. We were just completely out of the conversation. Well, then you go on the road to East Lansing and you beat a really good Michigan State team. All right, cool. Let's put them back on the bubble a little bit and see what happens. Well, they lost to UCLA. Whatever. That's fine. We're not going to worry about them. Then you get a week off and you go and you get a big win against Purdue. You got to do it on your home floor, but you beat a top 15 Purdue team. And I told you yesterday, I thought that would be enough to get us maybe not off the bubble completely, but at least firmly-ish into the tournament. And CBS Sports is saying that while we're not firmly in, we are in the tournament. According to CBS, Indiana is one of the last four in. It's us, Arkansas, Wake Forest, and Xavier. Our net ranking is 56, Arkansas 40, Wake Forest 63, and Xavier at 53. So we are the last four in, but we're the first of the last four. So we still have three teams below us before we would fall out into that first four out. So what does that mean? What does that tell us here, right? Well, it tells us that your wins matter now, that your big quad one wins have taken effect. Your win against Michigan State on the road was huge, and your win against Purdue this last weekend was a season-saving win. I still have people confused on why that is, and this is why. 2 wins ago, you weren't even being talked about in the NCAA tournament, and now you have a legitimate chance to go dancing for Mike Woodson in his final season. How is that not saving the year? It's not over. Season's not done. You still have work to do, but you have at least maybe saved isn't the right word. Maybe I'll use a different word. How about you revived it? You have revived your season, one that was just gone, dead in the water, right? It was just worthless. You have revived it to where you have a chance. And so Indiana right now, as one of those last four in, we would be playing in the first four in Dayton, Ohio. Okay, we would have to go and play at UD Arena. Right now, it says we would play Wake Forest. We would then slide in to one of those spots into the NCAA tournament. We'd either play Memphis or we'd play Oregon as the 6th seed, which we're going to get a chance to see Oregon coming up in just a couple of games. So don't know if we want to play them again, but maybe we match up well. Need to do some more into that, and we'll see how that game goes. And maybe we do want to play the Ducks again. We'll have to wait and see. Really just depends on what Oregon team you get, man. Do you get the one that was a top 15 team early on, or do you get one that lost 6 or 7 games in a row, man? Weird team that Oregon is. But that's where it stands right now. We're back in the tournament. And I've told you so many times, I still think it's possible. I really, really do. And look at some of these teams from the Big Ten who are in right now. Purdue is in there as a 4 seed. Maryland's in there as a 7 seed. You've got Wisconsin as a 3 seed. UCLA as a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. Michigan still a 3 seed, even though they lost this past weekend. And again, this is all according to CBS Sports. Michigan State is a 2 seed. Nebraska is a 10 seed. Oregon is a 6 seed in there. Illinois an 8 seed after not being able to hang with Duke this weekend. So we've got a lot of teams in there. We're just kind of all over the place in terms of seeding. We've got 2 seeds. We've got 8 seeds. We've got just the last 4 in, right, with us in Indiana. Like, the Big Ten's kind of all over the place. And I don't know how to analyze it. I guess the evaluation for me would be good, not great, the Big Ten this year. And when you try to compare it to what the SEC has done, it's just not fair. It's not an apples to apples comparison here, because as much as we hate to say it, the SEC is really good. They're really, really good. They're going to have 3 1 seeds, man. 3 1 seeds with Auburn, Alabama, and Florida. That's pretty legit. They're still flirting with like 12 or 13 teams to make it into the tournament. They're going to break the record for the most teams in the tournament in a single season. And they just added 2 more teams with Texas, Oklahoma. Like, it's insane to see how that works. And so, again, for the Big Ten, though, we're going to be represented well. And I think we have teams that can make a run. My concern for our conference is I don't know if we have a legitimate national title contender. I don't know. Michigan State scares me. Purdue scares me, especially since we beat them and we kind of did what we needed to do. And look, we handled business against Purdue. Michigan State, we fought for it, but we've seen that type of performance from them before. And same thing goes for Purdue. Am I crazy in saying that Michigan and Wisconsin, who are the 2-3 seeds right now, out of the Big Ten, may have the best chance to win it all? I love that Michigan team, man. I really, really do. They are a really, really fun team to watch. And I just think they've got it all, man. They had a disgusting game against Nebraska Monday night. I mean, horrific. Anybody that put any money on that, I'm so sorry. That game was terrible. But Michigan won. And they have everything. They have the guards. They have a couple of bigs. They've got the depth. They've got the coaching. They've got it all. And Wisconsin's one of the best shooting teams in all of college basketball. So those are my 2 picks to make a run in the tournament right now from the Big Ten. But our focus, of course, is Indiana and how we could get to the tournament. And then from there, at that point, it is what it is. You either win games or you don't if you're Indiana. Just getting to the tournament, I think, would be a big deal for Mike Woodson on the way out. And we've talked about, right, what Indiana's remaining schedule looks like. You've got 2 of the easiest games on your schedule coming up this week, where you play legitimately the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. You have you have Penn State at home this Wednesday. You then go, who's the second worst team in the Big Ten? You go to Washington, who's the worst team in the Big Ten. You visit Oregon, who's a really good squad. We just talked about them as a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament, who is a quad 1 game. And then you come home for Ohio State on that Sunday, where you have another quad 1 opportunity to get it done before. Actually, that is a Saturday. Apologies. It's a Saturday that Ohio State comes in. But another quad 1 chance for Indiana. You cannot drop these 2 against Penn State, Washington. You cannot afford it. If you lose one of these, you're probably done. Because I think a loss to one of those teams washes out your win over Michigan State or Purdue. I just think it does. I think one of those types of losses will balance out and cancel out one of your big wins. So can't afford to do that. And then you got to split against Oregon and Ohio State. Would love to do it on the road at Oregon. Would love to do that. Not that I want to lose at home by any means, but would love to get a big one on the road at Oregon just to show that we can. Just to show that we've got it in the tank. So we'll see. But it's, again, CBS has Indiana in the NCAA tournament as an 11 seed, one of the last 4 in, and we'd be playing in the first 4 in Dayton. All right, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, more recruits coming to Bloomington, more visits set up for June, and a big one out of the state of Georgia for head coach Kurt Cignetti. We'll talk about him coming up next in our final segment right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate you making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. And if you're looking for something else to listen to, something else to watch, we call ourselves the Locked On Podcast Network. And it's for a reason. We've got shows about everything. Literally, if you are an NBA fan or an NHL fan or the MLB, right? It's coming back around. Baseball season is here before you know it. We've got shows on everything you need. But if you are really a college basketball fan, which I have a feeling you are listening to this show, go check out Locked On College Basketball. Those guys do a fantastic job. Daily content talking college basketball every single day. And for my football fans, we're talking football here in just a moment. You need to listen to my buddy Spencer McLaughlin. He does Locked On College Football. He posts his main episode of the morning, and then he normally tries to crank out 2 or 3 more episodes in the afternoon. This guy's crazy. I mean, I don't know where he gets the time, but he is on one, and he gets out a ton of content about college football. So check that out as well on Locked On College Football. Make those your second and third listens every day when you're done here with Locked On Hoosiers. And speaking of college football, speaking of awesome things happening in college football, Kurt Cignetti just keeps stacking up visits, just keeps reaching out to recruits. Hey, want to come check us out? Want to come see Indiana? Want to come see what Bloomington has to offer? And these kids are saying, you bet. Yes, sir, I do. I do want to come see what Indiana's all about. If you missed our episode on Friday, we had Brian Smith, our recruiting expert here at Locked On. He joined us for the show, and it was a really, really good episode. We talked about 7 or 8 big names for Indiana, whether they've offered them or have put offered them or have official visits scheduled for them. Talked about a lot of big names and how big news could be on the way. So be sure you check that out. But another name we need to add to this list is a guy from Georgia. And him and I had a conversation about how Indiana is, yes, trying to lock down the state of Indiana and trying to get relevant again here at home and get the talent that's here. We all know that Indiana football talent is not up there with some of the other states, but there are still really good players, right? And we've talked about how we have to lock down this state. You don't let kids go to Purdue. You're going to have to fight Notre Dame. And sure, you're going to have to fight Michigan and Ohio State if they want to come into this part of the country too, right? If they want to come next door and make it happen, you've got to fight them off and lock down the Hoosier State. But Indiana's not scared to go outside of here. We're not scared to go to Illinois. We're not scared to go to Wisconsin. We're not scared to go to Ohio or Kentucky or Michigan. And we're also not scared to make a little trip down south and go and get several kids interested in Indiana football. And another one from the South, another one from the state of Georgia is an athlete down there playing high school ball, Dana Greenhow, who is, again, listed as an athlete, plays both sides of the football down in Georgia. He is 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, plays at Sandy Creek High School in Tyrone, Georgia. He's had several quotes about Indiana, how he loves the coaching staff, talks about the program, how it is growing, how it is building momentum, how it's on the rise is the terminology that he used. Thanks to Peaks.com, the 247 site for Indiana. Says he just wants to come and see the guys and meet the players and see if it's a vibe and truly see what Indiana is all about. And again, Dana Greenhow, 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, class of 2026 from the state of Georgia, plays both sides of the football. Sounds like Indiana wants him to play defensive side, possibly safety, maybe a little nickel as well. They want him to be on the defensive side of the football, which is fine. And I think he is okay with that. Other programs involved here, just to give you an idea: Cincinnati, NC State, Liberty is in there. So I think this guy's going to climb up the ranks. And while he doesn't have any ratings yet, it's not about that right now. It's not. I'm just saying. And that sounds so like, oh, of course it's not. But I'm telling you it's not. For the Indiana Hoosiers to leave this state, get on a plane, and go down and see this kid and make the call and not be scared or not be worried or just have the confidence to step in to the state that Kirby Smart has, I'm not going to say built, but has locked down, has made his own, right, at Georgia. For you to step in there and say, yeah, we're interested in you, and you. Why don't you come check us out? Just come see us. Just come pay us a little visit. We'd love to have you. And they're saying yes. They're saying yes. Kids like this have never been to Indiana, and he is now going to be in Bloomington in June. He's got his official visit set for June 13th. He is one of dozens that will be here throughout that month. I cannot wait to cover it all for you right here on Locked On Hoosiers. But add this guy to the list who I think looks the part. I think is only going to get bigger, faster, stronger. Again, class of 2026, Dana Greenhow, who is from Georgia. He's got offers. Listen to this. I'm not going to read them all. There's a ton of them. But let's see. Indiana, Cincinnati, Kansas, Missouri, NC State, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, Vanderbilt. Those types of places have already offered him, and I feel like his list is only going to grow. And he'll be in Indiana in Bloomington on June 13th, being recruited to play the defensive side of the football, but can play both as he's a big-time athlete down in the state of Georgia. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. I really, really do appreciate it. I can't express enough how much fun we're having here at Locked On Hoosiers. If you haven't already, like the video on YouTube, leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free, and all you do is get notified when we post new episodes. That's all it does, okay? So be sure you do that. My audio listeners, follow us. Turn on notifications. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps us tremendously as well. We're back tomorrow, okay, Hoosier fans? So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.